What's going on, guys? I returned back to Missouri to a winter wonderland, and I'm getting ready to take off again, and I'm not going to be back for a week. And it's sub-zero conditions outside, wind chill factor, and in the single digits here in Missouri. And I don't want to winterize my van because now that I'm back, I'm actually staying in my van. The remodel, I love it, and I want to use my van for my spot here at the shop as opposed to the office. So I don't want to winterize it, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about the things that I do to make sure that I'm not going to have any water issues while I'm gone, because we're getting to that time of year where we want to go out and do stuff, but we may come across freezing conditions, or maybe we are taking a trip, we want to de-winterize our system, but we're going to be coming back home to freezing conditions. So these are some of the things that I do to make sure that when I come back in a week, that I'm not going to have busted pipes, I'm not going to have water issues. The first thing that I did when I left quartzsite is I knew I was going to be coming through freezing conditions. So as soon as the temperatures dropped down where I knew it was going to be freezing outside, I opened up my ball valve. I didn't want my ball valve to be in the closed position while I was in freezing conditions. Here at the shop, I can put a bucket underneath my van, and any water that does come out of that gray tank, I can collect it in that bucket and throw it in the weeds or on the trees. Inside the van, I've got a bucket inside my sink. So I know it's freezing outside. I don't want water going into my gray tank. So I put it in that bucket, and then I can just toss it outside wherever I want. It's just dishwater, toothpaste water, dump it outside, dump it in the gravel. So ball valve is open. I will not touch that button again until it is no longer sub-freezing conditions here in Missouri. The other thing I do is I will turn my water pump in the off position. I'll open up my faucet and I'll drain all the pressurized water out of the line. If you have a water spigot that goes for a drinking filter, it's filtered drinking water, make sure you depressurize that as well. I'll turn my faucet in the hot position, turn that on with the pump in the off position, and take the pressure off of my water tank, out of my hot water heater. None of this will create a pressure problem with my water pump. It's self-priming. All the builds that I do have the self-priming water pumps. If you lose a prime and you can't get it reprimed, it's probably an issue somewhere else in the system. This is not very long. You're not pulling pressurized water for a long distance. So get all the pressure out of the line. Because what happens is, if you've got pressurized water in your water lines, when water freezes, it expands. And if your pipes are already pressurized and the water in those pipes freeze, it's going to crack your plastic fittings. Now, I use PEX tubing on my builds with the crimp, the metal crimp. So it even helps even more to prevent cracks. If you use just PVC, you could have a higher chance of that cracking because there's nowhere for it to expand. So relieve the pressure from my lines. The other thing I do is I have a water jug in my van. And this one just happens to be a gallon jug. You can have a little drinking bottle. But if this water that's sitting on the floor, your coldest spot in the van, does not freeze, then it's likely that your water system is not froze. Now, the water in your lines, because it's a smaller amount of water, it could still freeze. But because there's not pressure in the lines, if it does freeze, because it's such a small amount, it's going to have room to expand because you relieve the pressure from your lines. So by turning your pump off and open up your lines, relieving that pressure, it now has room to expand, release during the day, expand at night, and it's not going to crack those lines. Now, if you've got a shower nozzle in your van, a lot of those shower nozzles are made out of, unfortunately, cheap products. They work good, but they're not good for freezing conditions. So a lot of times I will make a shutoff valve going to my water, my shower line. Shut that off, unscrew your shower nozzle, or open it up and shake all the water out of there possible. Any amount of water in those shower lines, depending on where it's at, could crack that cheap plastic. So if you've got a shower, just if you can undo it and shake all the water out of there, get it out of there. Now, the other thing that I do, I've got a hot water heater underneath my sink. My lines are all underneath my sink. I've depressurized them, but I've got a little electric heater in here. And because I've got Sean and Paul here at the shop, they can keep an eye on my van every now and then, a couple of times a day. So this little space heater, I'll keep it on low. I don't need it 70 degrees in here, but I like to keep it about 50 degrees so that my lithium batteries don't drop down below freezing. My water system is okay. So I'm going to leave this door open so that the heat from my heater will get into those compartments as well. I've got enough water in my fresh water tank that I don't need to do that. I've got the water drained from my water pump, so I don't need to really open this. But these lines, I can open a door with no problem, keep that on, and I'm good to go. The other thing that I want to make sure is my refrigerator, I'll keep it on while I'm gone, and it has a water drain as well. So I want to make sure that the water in that line is going to drain with no problem as well. I'll keep this little curtain open so the heat from the van can get to there as well. So these are just some things that I go through, quick and easy things. It won't take me 5 minutes to do everything that I said. And then when I get back, I don't have to flush antifreeze out of my system. So I can turn my heater up, bring the temperature up in here a little bit, check my water jug, make sure that this isn't frozen, and I can run water in through my lines, repressurize them, and I'm good to just start living again in my van. So if you're going to be in and out of freezing conditions, at night it's freezing, but in the daytime it's not, these are things that you can do. It's really simple when you know what you're doing, so that you don't have busted water lines, which really can turn into a big issue. So anyway, I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions on your system that maybe I didn't answer, if you've got smaller lines, they're gonna freeze easier. Take all those things into consideration. If you've got a USB pump in a 5-gallon jug, make sure that you have get that water out of that line, pull that off of your 5-gallon jug, and just get that water out of the line. The water in the lines are what's going to create your problem, what's going to crack the plastic. So anyway, guys, stay warm, stay safe. We'll see you guys on the next video.